Former President Donald Trump's campaign confirmed that its fundraising site WinRed crashed after he was found guilty. Joining me now to discuss this is Jason Shepard, founder of Wimkin Social Media and the Fentanyl Test. Jason, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Stacey. Always appreciated.
So let's talk about this. No rioting, no looting, no burning. Americans were sad, enraged, upset, depressed. You name the range of feelings. Everybody felt something. And instead of taking to the streets to burn down their own neighborhoods or the Targets and, Quick Trips, they just went to their websites, they went to their phones, their laptops, whatever, and they donated.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, so conservatives, obviously, by nature, we do not step out like that. And obviously, we're smart enough to know now that, seeing the Justice Department weaponized against Trump, obviously, they're trying to do the same thing and baiting conservatives to do what liberals did during the George Floyd riots and whatnot. But yes, the absolute amazing numbers. I believe he's now over 210 million since this conviction, which again showing new WinRed users to the site. It also, in my opinion, shows that more people are leaning Trump now because they're seeing the weaponization of this Justice Department against a political candidate, which even independents, libertarians are going to be very upset about because they recognize that could be used against them as well.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Jason, I thought one of the most interesting aspects was the announcement when the number was just 52.8 million, and then again when the number reached 100 million, that a third of those donations were brand new users, people who'd never before donated to a political candidate. That's stunning.
It really is. And again, I think that really is coming down to the fact that, for the last 18 months, when Trump was indicted and every single prosecution they brought towards him, it boosted him in the polls. So I'm anxious to see what happens here with actual poll numbers. But I mean, if these donations are any indication of what is happening, certainly that his popularity is higher than ever. And again, people are seeing through this. And we're becoming a third world country to where if you have almost a dictator in the White House that can do this against his political opponent. So I believe it's definitely going to be the 30% is huge. And if that's really, again, any factor of this, Trump should win the White House easily in November.
So, Jason, let's talk about this because you build websites. You also have an extensive background in information technology and networking. When someone says, oh, WinRed crashed, and that was within hours of the verdict, and then later that evening, the site slowed down considerably again. They didn't announce a crash, but there were people who could not complete a donation that evening, hours after the site was back up. What does that indicate to people? Like, what specifically is happening when a website goes down after a huge news story?
So, Stacey, essentially, it could be one of two things. First and foremost, it's all related to traffic. So, as Wimkin is, a platform that's free speech, we get what's called a DDoS, direct denial of service, actually, that basically floods your site with traffic. Now, in this case, this was not an attack. This was just so many people pretty much crushing the bandwidth of this website, where people were just trying to donate, and the motivation there was so high that when people can't connect to something, I mean, I'm guilty of it too, you continually try. So there was really no let up in the traffic. So that's actually what caused that WinRed to not be accessible.
So it's interesting because I'm guilty too, Jason. We're the same unimind here. If I can't get to a website, instead of saying, "Oh, I'll try it later," I'm like, "Must be something wrong with my phone," and so I'll go to my laptop and try to get on there from there. But the traffic that a website anticipates is usually what they purchase in storage and cloud service from their provider. So they'll say, I expect 100 million people to come to my website per month, right? Speaking of the Trump campaign, they probably have those kinds of numbers. Smaller websites that say, I expect 25,000 people a month. You pay for that access. And then if you get, a huge article on Citizen Free Press and you have, 1 million people land on your site, then it will take the site down for a while until your provider can accommodate the influx of traffic. So this was a significant pressure point for them that was in a positive way instead of a negative way.
Most definitely. I mean, again, it shows the motivation behind what is actually happening. And again, people seeing truly seeing through these prosecutions. But yeah, I mean, his bandwidth, because you hit that on the head, Stacey. it's already probably through the roof in terms of how many terabytes that they actually allot for. So for this to happen, it tickles me. I'm so happy that this actually happened, and it's a positive to show, hey, there's going to be a very, very hopeful outcome for us.
So, hopeful outcome for November, but we have a number of huge announcements that have come across since President Trump was convicted, namely that you have Donald Trump. He's always been strong on the border. He's always made announcements about that. President Biden made Kamala Harris his vice president, the borders are. And so, on the heels of this conviction, you have President Biden calling Trump a convicted felon and then adopting one of his policies by sealing up the southern border. This announcement came out yesterday. I was surprised to see that. What did you make of President Biden following in a felon's footsteps, as he calls it?
Yeah, that's very interesting because the left obviously anointed George Floyd, who was actually a real felon. So, when this comes down and how they're going to try to twist this, it's actually comical to me because the absurdity of it all, and the absolute stigma of being a felon certainly can't be great for Trump. But when it comes down to the fact, I believe you're referencing that they're going to stop immigration at 2,500 a day.
Mhm.
For the millions that have already crossed, Stacey, you know, that's still 75,000 a month, and you don't know about who the gotaways are going to be and the illegals are coming in. So, but it's interesting that he would. It's kind of like wag the dog situation to where obviously you're distracting with one hand and obviously doing something with the other. So, but yeah, I mean it's something that I think the right and obviously in terms of conservatives and Republicans, they have to get better on their messaging about these things. They have to bring this into voters' faces, not just on the Republican side, but to show people what's happening and show people what Joe Biden just did. And I think they should bring up the George Floyd and the riots and the fact that these politicians were bonding people out that were actual criminals, hurting people, burning down their cities. And again, they thought that was okay.
Yeah, and the thought process behind this discussion really it echoes across every demographic. And that's because illegal immigration impacts all Americans. And so the When Red crash is a reflection of just how much the Biden policies have impacted everyday Americans across the spectrum. So much so that people who'd never donated before went to the extraordinary measures, as you mentioned, you and I kind of going back and forth to a website again and again and again. They made it through. They actually made it possible to get these donations in, and they've continued to give because you mentioned 210 million now. $210 million in less than 7 days. That's record breaking. I'm happy for the Trump campaign, but I still feel such a sense of sadness over him being convicted at all. Tell everyone about how to get to your website, Wimkin Social Media, and sign up there.
Sure. You can visit us at wimkin.com. That's WIM as in Mary, KIN as in Nancy.com. It stands for World Must Know Now in honor of free speech. And we are also in both app stores after beating our almost lifelong bans by Apple and Google Play. But we are in there, and we're accessible there as well.
Fantastic. Jason Shepard, founder of Wimkin Social Media and the Fentanyl Test. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you, Stacey.